I thought it was outrageous for him to say that he thought that the Bush administration was complicit in, had guilty knowledge in advance of, was an accomplice in the destruction of the World Trade Center.
I never said that, because I don't believe that. Those who seem to think that the Bush administration had something to do with 9/11, I can prove that they didn't. They are totally incompetent. 9/11 was a brilliantly executed strike at the United States. I can't imagine anybody, can you imagine Cheney mumbling around, orchestrating something like that?
You've written that there is no such thing as a true account of anything. What is the true account in brief of the events that took place on September 11th last year?
Would you like it in brief, really, or do you want it in depth? Or do you want it totally true?
Totally true, in brief and in depth.
Oh, good. Well, now I have a mandate, as the president would say. We had just found out, the world had found out that Mohammed Atta, who was a Saudi Arabian guy, but seemingly working for Osama bin Laden, that he was in charge of the planes that crashed into the New York buildings. Well, the story is really more complicated. What surprised me was the extraordinary technical brilliance of what they did. And not just coordinating the planes and all of that, it was timing it at a moment in which our economy is beginning to go down. I mean, the whole thing was wonderfully thought out, which makes me think it is not one man. My father was director of air commerce under Franklin Roosevelt. My father, who was one of the original Army Air Force flyers in World War I, he had put in a lot of sort of safety things. The law is, it is mandatory, that if a plane has been hijacked within something like 6-7 minutes, within 4 minutes, immediately within minutes, fighter planes are scrambled. To scramble, that means go up and investigate, find out who they are, find out what's happening. To get the plane to come back to Earth, shoot it down if you had to. And you don't need orders from the president, the vice president, or anybody else. That's the law. For 1 hour and 50 minutes, I think it was. In the 2 hours that they knew from the first hijacking until the very last one. No fighter plane went up. And the planes were still on their way to Washington to hit the Pentagon, when suddenly from Otis Air Base comes one fighter plane. Finally, 2 from Otis Field in Massachusetts. Might just as well have been in Canada. Arrived at the Twin Towers, I think at the time the second one was hit. If anybody had been thinking, they would have gone on to Washington to try and prevent the attack on the Pentagon. They went back to Otis, back to Massachusetts. That was the only fighter plane which, according to law, they all should have been up there. With all the air bases, fighter planes up and down the eastern seaboard, not one of them went aloft while the hijackings took place. Well, that could only happen if somebody had told them to stand down, not to respond to what was, after all, their sworn duty. During that hour and 20 minutes, we lost the 2 towers and one side of the Pentagon. The Bush people were getting warnings from everybody. President Putin of Russia, he had warned us. President Mubarak of Egypt, he had warned us. Even the FBI was giving reports something awful was going to happen. 3 members of Mossad claimed that they had come to the United States to warn us that sometime in September something unpleasant might come out of the sky. Not a word to the public, no warning. We have been told nothing, and every voice is silent. You cannot let an act of negligence or an act of treachery or whatever it was go unquestioned, even when the president is involved. We were not protected at 9/11, which ordinarily would have led to the impeachment of the President of the United States, who had allowed it to happen.
You seem to believe that the U.S., the people of the USA have a lot more to fear from the Bush administration than they have from Muslim terrorists.
Of course they do. This government is culpable of, if nothing less, negligence. He's got something that is working, is giving him the power, which is what he wanted all along, to rid us of our Bill of Rights. The USA Patriot Act, which passed through Congress in about 20 minutes after 9/11, it's 400 pages long. Sounds like somebody had prepared it in advance. Suspending habeas corpus, having all sorts of special trials aboard ships. They are ready for it.